Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. I wanted to take a look at what we currently have planned for Star Citizen Alpha 3.5, the next major patch for Star Citizen, with some expectations, talk about things that might make it in. It is pretty damn feature laden and some of the stuff in there is super important. Star Citizen Alpha 3.5 should be coming to a live build at the end of March 2019, with a PTU at least a couple of weeks before that, I would expect. On the PU, the Persistent Universe roadmap for 3.5, we can see the items that are currently planned for the patch. Female characters. Players have wanted this for ages. It's the ability to choose and customize a female character. This will also have the NPCs updated with new animations, models, and items too. Female characters will have a one-to-one parity with their male counterparts for animations, armor, and items, but males and females may have different unique clothing based on their sex. We're also getting the DNA face customizer at the same time. This is a big database of heads and faces that will allow us to blend traits between all of these different ones and allow us for a much more comprehensive facial customization experience, whether we've gone for a male character or a female character. We should also see lots of different faces with NPCs as well. Planet ArcCorp. So this is an entire city planet that's first iteration is going to incorporate Area 18 as its major landing zone. Expect new mission givers, shops, hab areas, a spaceport, though we don't know what sort of interaction we're going to have with the rest of the planet, as it could just be sort of like all like Lorville's shielded area, because it is all city. There are sort of like different biomes within that with different types of city parts, but we don't know if we're going to be able to land and drive around those areas, or if it's just going to be, we have Area 18 and maybe some other spots on the planet that we can travel to for missions, but we don't know exactly what we're going to be able to do there yet. We are going to have two new moons, Lyria and Walla, around ArcCorp. This new gameplay area should be hooked up with various missions too, so it's not just going to be a barren area of just sightseeing and tourism like Lorville and Hurston were on the first iteration of 3.3. It should all be hooked up for missions and gameplay already. There's some new ships, the 300 series rework. So this is a full rework of the interior and exterior of the 300i, 315p, 325a, and 350R, bringing them in line with the updated stars and materials from the Origin pipeline and taking some design elements from the 85X and 600i. They also have said that with 3.5 and the 300 series, they want to have ships customizable from the RSO website. So potentially you might be able to change the color, the loadout, internals, and all that sort of stuff before you purchase the ship. Then that loadout is going to be its default with its insurance and that sort of stuff as well. But that's going to be interesting. We'll have to wait and see exactly what they do with that. They're also making some improvements to the M50, including improvements to its landing gear compression and updating the UI metrics to the cockpit to improve the pilot experience with it. The long-awaited Banu Defender two-person escort fighter should be in 3.5 as well. So what's more wanted for me with this is that it's going to be the first Banu ship, and that heralds the style of other Banu ships like the Merchantman. We'll see the style of exactly what Banu systems and weapons are like, and how the ships look and handle, things like that. Reliant Variants are also being added. This is the Tana Combat Skirmisher, the Sen Science and Research version, and the Mako News Van, the media ship designed to gather all the latest events for the Spectrum. The Constellation Taurus, actually, one of my favourite ships, on paper anyway, is there. So the reason for this is it's the logical progression from Starter Ship to Avenger Titan, to Cutlass Black, to Constellation Taurus. That's the sort of like lines I see it, and it's a very cheap version of a constellation. It drops one of the Andromeda's turrets and the sort of like better default loadout that the Andromeda or other constellations would have, and goes for extra cargo space and cheapness. It doesn't come with a snub or ground vehicle though, so bear that in mind. There are some improvements to the P-52 Merlin. It's getting balanced and it's having tweaks done to its landing gear compression, things like that. There are some big major gameplay systems coming online as well. The Reputation Law System version 1. This is an important addition to the game because it's going to allow for localized criminal ratings and reputations, along with integrated location-based missions. Expect some more reasons to be lawful or be an outlaw or a pirate, or engage in PvP, or run from players and NPCs. Lots more different missions and mission giver accessibility based on how much of an outlaw you are, or if you're being chased by the police at the moment, things like that. They're also expanding the service beacons for escorts, allowing you to pay players directly to escort you to a location, and enabling some quality of life improvements, so you can have things like your escort quantum linked with you and jump with you when they are accompanying you, stuff like that. Stuff so it's easy for them to escort you. A major gameplay loop that is getting added is Salvage version 1, and it sounds like it's going to be similar to mining in its first implementation anyway. Players will be able to strip material from ships' hulls. This will have gameplay for both players on foot or in a ship. The player will have to scan or ping the environment to find salvageable debris first, and once harvested, this can be sold at a kiosk. So very similar to mining. It will evolve pretty quickly, I suspect, after that to be reasonably different. Weapons-wise, there is a couple of FPS weapons, the Gemini S71 assault rifle and the Kastak Arms Coda ballistic pistol getting added. There's also a revision to the size 1 to 3 870 Tarantula ballistic cannons for ships. Flight model. Now, for me, this is the most important part of 3.5 and potentially the whole year. This is the new, fully revised flight model that they've had an extra 3 months to work on for its first implementation into the game. This is being designed and implemented by the same team with the new direction for the flight experience in mind. Ships will have to think about maneuvers. It's going to have ships fly more like a World War II modern fighters sort of like style, but should allow for a lot of different play styles to be viable as well. Alien ships like the Xi'an, Katu Al, Santup Gyai stuff will be significantly more mobile, being able to make use of strafing and more agile responsive maneuvers more easily than the human ships, which are very much driven with the rear engines pushing them around, rather than having these like articulated thrusters which can move in any direction and drive the ship in any direction that it's needed. We will see ships perform differently in atmosphere with gravity, weather, and different environments, feeling like the ship is more heavy, and there's going to be lift, and there's going to be thrusters being put under stress. You're going to be able to feel that. You're going to be able to feel your ship a lot more. They are allowing for acceleration, throttle, and velocity control, so rather than having different modes for like SCM and landing and precision modes, cruise modes, you'll have everything adjustable for your needs. If you want to go faster, you'll have less control, but you can set limits to your acceleration or your maximum velocity, so you can basically make any mode you want. And you'll also have things like the afterburner working like an afterburner. So it will literally give you more acceleration so that you can get up to your top speed faster. Once you're at your top speed, which is what we have as cruise at the moment, you will have very limited maneuverability. They have been tweaking ESP as well, so we should have something with the new flight model, but expect tweaks coming with future patches to both ESP and the flight model, potentially very quickly with 3.5.x patches if necessary. But it's going to be an iterative process, and it's going to be based on community feedback. So bear that in mind with the new flight model. It's going to need balance, it's going to need tweaking, but it should work a bit better with the in-game systems. So when we're talking about performance and we're talking about weird bugs and things not working as intended, having the team that actually designs it and implements it together as the same team should mean, hopefully, that we get a better experience and better integration into the game. There are various server and client-side improvements that they're making as well. Object container streaming, they are finishing off the client side of object container streaming with code conversion improvements, converting all the old Lua code to C++, and background spawning improvements, so more CPU threads can be utilized to minimize stalling and loading times and stuff like that. They also have been working on server-side object container streaming. We just don't know how far they are along with that. Server-side differs as it's servers dynamically saving, pausing, and culling areas of really the gameplay area, assets, and entities intelligently. So when they're not being used, they're sort of like, they're gone, they're paused, whatever, and then they can load those areas back up seamlessly if they need them. So this is for server performance and efficiency, basically. There's a lobby refactor laying the groundwork for server meshing that allows multiple servers and clients to all be in a game session, and then they'll build on that for server meshing later. We're not going to see any immediate benefits from this at this stage. It's just background tech. There's parallel network jobs, which we should see some immediate improvements from, potentially anyway. So this is improving the network multi-threading so that servers can handle a greater number of connections. This should allow the game to increase player counts beyond what we currently have. So hopefully we should see more than 50 clients per server in the short term. There are improvements to the hard surface and organic shaders, allowing greater detail on man-made objects, as well as smoother blending between terrain, rocks, and organic objects. Expect tweaks as well to the procedural tech. They always seem to do that. There's a new Projectile Manager, allowing for a more optimized, scalable projectile system that will cater to large-scale space battles. This is also going to improve performance in smaller battles as well, and will add further realism to the game. There's AI improvements. Obviously, these are pretty important, as the AI in 3.4 is a little derpy, and they need AI to be set up for the new flight model. So expect the FPS side to get a little bit of extra work as well, but getting AI working for that new flight model is super important. So on the FPS side, there's Stealth version 2 listed as a feature. This is the ability for stealth tactics to be used, NPCs reacting appropriately to sounds and distractions being snuck up on. You should see stealth as a viable tactic in 3.5. Quantum and strafing is listed on the flight AI side. So this is going to be AI pilots using quantum navigation, providing more updates to the IFCS flight model, and allowing AI to use basic scanning mechanics to detect stealth ships, as well as hopefully the ability for AI pilots to utilize that new flight model to a reasonable extent. There is a Squadron 42 roadmap that has various features that will also make it into Star Citizen's persistent universe at some point. This is going to be based on how much work is required to bring them into the persistent universe and to multiplayer, because the single player aspect, Squadron 42, is much easier for certain features just to get ready, and they might require a lot of work for multiplayer readiness. But some bits might make it into 3.5. They recently completed version 2 of player vaulting, jumping, and mantling, allowing for new motion warping tech for variable width and height obstacles. So expect to see better animations and functionality for jumping onto ledges and across obstacles in 3.5 and 3.6. Some other parts that are planned to be completed for Squadron 42 at the end of Q1, so again may make it into 3.5, are AI FPS realistic firing and collision avoidance version 2. Some better NPC AI basically, so that they will choose the correct weapons and tactics in combat, and better pathing around objects and use cover correctly. For ships, there are AI spline paths that utilize the new flight model and enable AI to move around intricate environments, sort of like landing zones or land in ship bays, things like that. They're also improving player locomotion on stairs, so your feet sit correctly, whatever speed you're moving, and player-object interaction should at some point see us with helmets or other carryable objects in our hands. Further improvements to the particle lighting, water physics, procedural asteroid, atmospherics, and weapon effects, as well as ragdoll simulation improvements, should all be making their way into the game. Vehicle HUDs, scanners, and radars should see some of the Squadron 42 improvements, supporting additional scanning and ping features, as well as environmental effects on equipment, and we might be able to create false signatures and signals and things. Expect more information to be exposed to us as players when using these systems as well. Improvements to the heat and room systems, so things like ambient temperatures will be taken into account, and all of the heat traveling between systems will work better. They have been working on medical gameplay using things like medipens on other players is a possibility in 3.5 or soon after, and they've been working on allowing the player to look away from where their weapon currently is pointing, but still keep it aimed, allowing for more situational awareness, but also the ability to quickly fire. Alpha 3.5 is very feature-laden now, and it's possible that some parts might slip into a 3.5.x patch or even 3.6 at the end of June, but they have been able to work on large parts of 3.5's content for much longer than usual because of the way that they pushed 3.3's branch into 3.4 and then moved those 3.4 bits out into 3.5. So a lot of the stuff that was going to be ready for 3.4 and that is almost ready or was almost ready is now in 3.5. So in my opinion, there's a bit more confidence in that most of that stuff will stay, if not all of it, in 3.5. I'm very much looking forward to the new flight model. In fact, I think it's what I'm looking forward to most for 2019. It is integral that they get that flight model correct, and it's certainly going to take a bit of iteration and balancing with community feedback, and I don't expect them to get it perfectly right from the off, but I do think that skills will be transferable. So if you're learning to fly with the new flight model, I suspect whatever direction that new flight model takes, that it's going to improve your skill, whatever, because it will all be based on the same sort of thing. It will be based on the same foundation. At least that's my hope anyway. That's my rationale of I'm going to play at least 2 hours a day to learn to fly to a reasonable level. But please tell me what you're most excited about for 2019 and 3.5. Do you think anything is likely to slip out of 3.5 and into 3.6? If you are considering getting a new gaming PC or upgrading, first, please consider the Shadow Cloud gaming service. It leverages the power of your internet connection to turn a device, be it phone, laptop, tablet, or PC, into a powerful Windows 10 gaming rig. I've seen people just use their phones and a gamepad now to play Star Citizen. It works great for me in Star Citizen Alpha 3.3.7, and the Shadow guys keep on updating both their hardware and software. Your mileage may vary with Shadow though, based on your internet connection, so please bear that in mind. It is subscription based, and using the code BoredGamer will net you a discount. If you don't have Star Citizen yet, then please check out the links below as well to get 5,000 UEC, the in-game currency, as a bonus. Any comments and feedback is appreciated. Please take care, guys, and I'll see you in the verse.